and gentlemen, welcome to Disney California Adventure Food and Wine Festival. Please welcome your host, Eddie Kalukakui.
Hey guys, all right, got some new faces out there, I love it. Yes. All right, everybody's looking good today, I love it. Yes. Well, welcome to Disney California Adventure Food and Wine Festival. Yes. It is our last day here at the festival. I know, are we so sad? Is there anybody new here that just came to the festival for the first time today? Yeah? Oh, a couple of you, great, great. Well, I want to let you know what's going on today. We have our festival marketplaces. You've probably seen them along the route from Carthay Circle Theater to Paradise Pier. They serve delights from Los Angeles, Bay Area, the farm, wine country. Does anybody have any favorites that they like from the festival marketplaces? Yeah. Which?
Beet salad.
The beet salad, yeah. We had John State making the beet salad earlier. Any other favorites? Has anybody tried the Wagyu beef? Yes, and the polenta? Yeah, so make sure to check those out. If you need any other information, check out your festival guide map. Everything is right in here. Now, you guys ready to meet your visiting chef?
Yeah!
Yes! This is gonna be great. Chef Greg Daniels is the executive chef and partner of Provisions Market and Haven Gastropub, both in Old Town Orange County, right off the Orange Circle. His best-selling Haven Burger has been featured in Food and Wine Magazine's cocktail book and was voted Best Burger by CBS Los Angeles. The pub was named Best Gastropub by Draft Magazine. Chef Greg's passion for cooking began in his late teens, and after training at Le Cordon Bleu in Pasadena, he worked as line cook for two noted Orange County chefs, Chef Pascal of Newport Beach and Chef Andrew Sutton of Napa Rose.
Woo!
Yes. So please welcome Chef Greg Daniels. Welcome.
Thanks, Ed.
Yeah.
Excited to be here.
I feel like you're in the family. You studied under
Hi,
Andrew
guys.
Sutton, and we all know those guys.
It's really good to be here for the Food and Wine Festival here at Disney's California Adventure. Like Eddie was telling you, I own and I'm the chef at Haven Gastropub and Provisions Market just down the street.
Fans, all right.
Yeah, we have some fans in the audience. That's awesome. We're going to be doing a dish that's not on our menu, but we do a lot of different specials on the weekends, mostly with these big boards and nice big cuts of meat. So I'm going to be doing a double pork chop and serving that with some grits with aged cheddar cheese in them. And I'm going to show you how you can use sous vide at home in order to get a perfectly cooked pork chop. A lot of you probably have experience with pork and chicken being overcooked and dry. This is one way to avoid that. So one thing that I did before it was sous vide in this bag is I brined it. And the brine that I used had whiskey in it, so it's a whiskey brined double pork chop. So it was a combination of water, salt, sugar, some thyme, black pepper, garlic clove, orange juice, and a little bit of whiskey. We used Buffalo Trace whiskey for this one. So all of that flavor went into here, and it sat in that brine for 24 hours or so. Once it came out of there, we wiped it off, we put it into this bag, and we vacuum sealed it. At home, you could put it into a Ziploc bag, seal it up as tight as possible. If you put it under water, all the water will come out, and you can seal the bag. And then you can use one of these nifty little immersion circulators. This one's about $200. It's called Nomiku. The ones we use in the restaurant run closer to $1,000. We can do bigger pots, but this is great for home. So that one, I'm going to put this in at 139 degrees, which is what I cooked it at. And we cooked it for 2 hours that way. And what I'm doing right now is I'm going to bring it back up to temp because it's been under refrigeration. So the idea with sous vide is you're cooking something to a perfect temperature so that you have the same doneness all the way through. If you get a steak and you have gray and pink in the middle, that's what we're trying to avoid. We want basically char on the outside on both sides and pink all the way through. Same thing with pork. This will be a little rosé color. Pork can be cooked to just above medium rare to medium. Now, the FDA guidelines have allowed for that. The trichinosis, which is the only thing you're worried about in pork, dies at 139 degrees, so that's what we cook it at. And it's cooked for 2 hours, which cooks it to its core and nearly pasteurizes it. Okay, so going with that, we're gonna do a pork jus, which I roasted some rib bones and fortified a stock, a pork stock. And so that one I have going in the back here. And it's gonna simmer and reduce while we also work on some imperial stout and maple syrup, which we're going to reduce down to add and flavor our stock. So it'll be sweet and rich and delicious. This one comes from Ritual Brewing out of Redlands. It's a local brewery. They happen to win a gold medal with this imperial stout. And we carry it at Provisions Market down the street if you'd like to buy it and take it home. So we're gonna let that reduce down a little bit by at least half, maybe a little bit more, while we bring this up to temperature. We have some grits that we started here. So these are Anson Mills white corn grits. If you can see all these particles and stuff in here, this is, we soaked this underwater for overnight. It's 3 cups of water to 1 cup of grits, and that should cut the cook time in half. So it should take about a half an hour to cook those grits. And we're gonna cook them over a medium heat so that they absorb all of the water, and then we're going to add butter and cheese into it and make it nice and delicious. To elevate the flavor of corn in these corn grits, we're gonna char some fresh corn, and we're gonna cut that up and we'll fold it into the grits at the end. So we'll start with that. I have a couple ears of corn here. I'm gonna put a little bit of olive oil on there. Just kind of coat it.
So you're gonna put that in the grits?
I'm going to put it into the grits at the end, yes. So right now we're doing it on a hot cast iron pan. It's been heating up while you guys were waiting for me to get out here. And we'll let that char up on there. We want to get some black. We don't want it to be like super burned or anything, but that charred flavor will just add more to the flavor of the pork that we're going to get as we char that. Whoops. That's what you're talking about with this induction burner, huh? So if you ever have a pot that boils over like that, if you think faster than I did and throw a cold metal spoon or anything metal into it, it'll usually cool it down fast enough. Whew. I can smell that beer though, Eddie. I'll tell you that. So, all right, corn is smoking. Get that going. All right, so this pork chop, we'll leave it in here for probably 5 more minutes, and we'll know that it's right into the center. It'll be done in the center, and then we're gonna cook it up.
So with the pork chop, you soaked it in the brine, and then you're warming it up to a certain temperature.
Yeah, I'm bringing it back up to what I cooked it. I cooked it at this temperature for 2 hours, and now I'm just trying to bring it back up to 10.
Got it.
And so what the brine does is it basically seasons the inside of the meat and makes it so that both the outside and the inside are the same. So there's the salt content all the way throughout that's balanced in there. And we did it at 5% is the salt that's in there. So 5% of the liquid that went into it, we measured it, and then we put salt. And then we put a little sugar, about half the amount of sugar in there as well, just to add a little sweetness and another layer of flavor. All right, corn's going. This is reducing, as you can see, bubbling away.
Now, for those of us that don't know, what is a gastropub?
Oh, so a gastropub. Haven is at its core. Gastropub is basically a casual environment with elevated food, a pub environment with elevated food. We still serve things like our burger, mac and cheese, shepherd's pie, but on top of that we do more elevated dishes. We do beer pairing dinners. We try to basically bring the best of everything in one little place. Gastropub started in London in the early 90s when pubs were actually taken back. They were owned by breweries for the longest time, and they really didn't have good food, and they were run by families that didn't know how to run restaurants. They didn't have to control their costs or anything, so they didn't have to worry about making money. They were being paid by breweries. Once that got broken up, all of a sudden these families didn't know how to keep the business going on their own. Places started shuttering and real estate started becoming available in London, where these chefs that were leaving and going to Paris to cook and everything else were able to come back to their hometown and open a place and not pay extraordinary rent. So they were bringing great food, like we said, but in these pubs. I mean, they're exactly what you know them to be, just little bars, and they started throwing great menu items up on chalkboards and cooking away, and it became a huge trend that moved over to the U.S. Probably in the mid 2000s. So lots of fun. So what we've done with it is we've taken it further than that. By serving craft beer and supporting small farms and small producers of beer, wine, and spirits, and just trying to stay to our core there. As you can see, the grits here are absorbing nicely. They're picking up all of the water and pulling it in and fattening up. So those should cook just perfectly for us. You have the jus coming up. This one seems to be reducing nicely as well.
It's a lot to keep track of. I feel like 4.
Yeah, well, we've got a few things. It's really not a super complex dish, but really will deliver a lot of flavor. So to go with this, we're going to have a little salad on the side. So while all of this is working, we'll make our salad. Well, it goes back to 0. So in order to contrast all the richness that we're going to have on the plate, the cheesy grits and the fat pork chop, we're going to do a bright salad with some herbs and peppery greens. We're going to use mustard greens and frills. This is a mix from San Diego County. We're also going to throw in some fresh parsley that we picked on the salad there. It's a little slippery. I'll move this into here. We'll make our dressing. So we're going to make a quick little salad dressing for this. A vinaigrette. I like doing vinaigrettes, especially for something like this, with about 50% oil to vinegar. So they tend to be much more sharp and acidic. But like I said, we're trying to cut through that. So that's what we're going for. So here I have a little apple cider vinegar because apple goes with pork. All right, so we're going to put a little bit of vinegar in there, a little bit of this extra virgin olive oil, have some shallots that we minced up, throw those in there, as well as a little bit of Dijon mustard. And then we're also going to squeeze just a little bit of lemon juice in there, brighten it up even further, give it another element of acid.
It's a cool looking knife.
Thank you. Yeah, it's Aura Knife Works. They are in Long Beach, actually. Young guy in his mid-20s that just wanted to make cool knives, and my wife actually got that for me. It's custom to my hand and everything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really cool stuff.
Next level cooking right
Right?
now. Yeah.
All right, so we've got this going. So really, like you can emulsify a vinaigrette and get it all together and pretty, but when we're just dressing a salad like this, simply mixing these things together and having just a loose combination of your oil and vinegar is perfectly fine. And we're gonna dress some greens. In a restaurant, we would want this to be a little bit more stable so we could use it throughout the day without having to do this. But for this purpose, it's perfect. So we have our greens here, and we'll dress that right at the end. Put that aside. And we're gonna start this pork chop. Okay, this is still reducing. Good. All right.
So how long does it...
Might as well, right?
How long does it take for that to warm back up?
The pork chop?
Yeah.
It's ready to go.
Oh, okay.
Yep, so we're actually gonna start cooking it right now.
You said you cooked that previously, right?
Yeah, so it's completely cooked through.
How did you cook it before?
The pork chop?
Yeah.
Just in the water like this.
Oh, okay.
So in the vacuum bag, the longer it stays in there, it always stays at one temperature perfectly. Okay. So it will cook all the way through to the center that way without having to do anything else to it. It's really great for consistency in a kitchen. You want to make sure that you're always coming out the same way. That will definitely do that. So here's our pork chop, and I mean, you could eat it just like this, but you don't have that char on the outside that you really want. And that's called the Maillard reaction and delivers all the flavor throughout. So that's why we sous vide and then we finish and char it off. And you can actually do it the other way. We could sear it and put it in the bags and pick it up that way as well. All right, so just a little salt and pepper on the outside. But season generously. Your inside, remember, is seasoned all the way through. So that's coming up. We're gonna do this in butter because it's delicious. And we don't really want to burn the butter, but we do want to brown the butter, so. These burners are extremely efficient. All right, so once that gets up nice and hot, we're gonna put this in here. We're gonna throw in a little fresh thyme. Corn still charring.
That thyme just adds a little flavor to the frying.
What's that?
The thyme just adds a little flavor.
Yeah, it's just gonna add a little bit of flavor to it. I'm gonna use the butter to baste it. So do this whole time. It flavors that, and then we keep going.
Wow.
And you want to make sure that you really cover all of this pork because the fat especially tastes so much better when it's got a little brown on it.
Known for the Haven Burger, right?
Yeah, it is. It's our most popular item. We sell a ton of those, every day. But
Can you tell them what that is? What that
sure.
is?
Yeah. Our Haven Burger. We built it. I came up with it. The idea was to hit every one of your taste buds: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, umami. And we did that by using different ingredients that delivered those flavors that we were looking for. So we did our burger. We did a custom grind for the burger. We used 65% chuck, 15% short rib, and then we did a very unique thing by using pork fat for the other 20% of that grind. And the idea is that if you were to go into the restaurant and ask for it well done on a burger, as a lot of people tend to do, it'll still be moist. So you won't have a dried out burger. We don't cook steaks to well done at our restaurant, but we cook the burger that way because we made it in order to be able to sustain that. So on top of that, we throw Saint-Agur cheese, which is a French blue cheese that just has tremendous amount of flavor. That adds to that umami, meaty mushroom flavor. We top it with fresh arugula for that peppery bitterness, the roasted red bell pepper for sweetness, and then pickled red onions for acid. And then we, on top of all of that, we use garlic aioli that we make in-house, and put that on a fresh bun from OC Baking Company. It's really delicious. We make all of our own ketchup. We make ketchup. We do our fries from start to finish. They go through like a 3-day process before we can fry them. Take a lot of care in what we do as a restaurant and as a kitchen. So I'm still trying to get all of this nice and deliciously browned. It looks like our beer and maple syrup has reduced nicely, about 2/3 of the way. That's what we're going for. It's nice.
So with the pork chop, you keep it on that one side?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it on the one side for a while just to get a nice edge on it, and then we're gonna flip it over, or nice char on it, and then we're gonna flip it over. So right now it's getting nice and pretty. We'll let it go for just another minute here. We're gonna take some of this charred corn right off the cob. We'll fold that into these grits near the end.
Now, how did you first get involved in cooking?
In cooking?
Yeah.
Well, I started at 15. I started in the restaurant industry. I actually fell in love with restaurants as a child. My grandmother worked as a waitress for 20 years at a Chris and Pitt's barbecue joint, and fell in love with the camaraderie of it. At 15, I got a job in fast food at KFC as a cashier.
Nice.
I worked the drive-through and the front, and I loved it. I loved watching the cooks working. Everybody seemed to be having a good time. They had a lot of fun, and it was a very familial atmosphere. And so I really found that that's what I wanted to surround myself with, and that's what I wanted to do for a living. So later on, I ended up getting into bartending, and bartending for about 10 years. And from there, I kind of felt like I hit a ceiling with bartending, and I couldn't really be any more creative than I already was. At the time, we didn't have all these cool craft cocktails that like we serve at our restaurant now. Before, it was all just Long Island iced teas, kamikazes, which I'm very, very good at, by the way. I can make all of those things. All right. Perfect. All right, so our grits are almost there. They have a nice consistency. Pork chop is fighting back. But you can see like all that beautiful color on that chop. So like I said, we do specials like this all the time on the weekends. Come check us out. If you're daring, you can try all kinds of cool stuff on our menu. If you just want to eat a burger, you can come in and eat a burger or mac and cheese. And honestly, we have people coming in suits, and we have people coming in shorts and tank tops, families, all the way up to the Red Hat Society comes in for lunch all the time too. Good group of people.
Now, what inspires you when you're making new dishes? How do you come up with these?
Well, it often starts with the protein that we want to start with. They're just a really cool ingredient. And so in this case, it's this beautiful double pork chop. It's Duroc pork from the Midwest that is all natural and humanely raised, and we know it's going to be delicious. So starting with great ingredients is the first step of the process. And then from there, it's whatever else we're excited about. We talk amongst the chefs and see who has found something that they want to work with, and we go from there. And a lot of it is balancing. A lot of it is the balancing of flavors in the same way that we did with the burger, like we talked about.
Yeah.
Is balancing the acid and the bitter and the sweetness, all of that together. So you're trying to find what ingredients will do that for you. Mm-hmm. So our pork chop is all done. It needs to rest for just a few minutes. You'd have to let something like this rest probably for like 10 minutes or so if you were cooking it in the traditional method. But being that we use sous vide, it won't lose as much as the liquid that we're worried about losing.
Why do you have to make it rest?
What's that?
Why do you have to make the pork rest?
Oh, because otherwise, if you cut into it, all the juices spill out.
Okay.
So yeah, you're just trying to keep all of that moisture in there, and all of that we worked so hard on. It spent 12 hours in that brine to get there. All right, so now we're gonna season up these grits. We're gonna add some shredded aged white cheddar. Fold that in there. Just let that melt. And that's going to add, before I add any salt into this, I am adding the cheese because cheese is aged with salt. So we have a lot of salt that is going in there already. And then I have some fresh picked thyme and this corn that's also going to go in. We'll put that in right at the end. Need like a taste vision on here, right? I know, I feel bad that you guys don't get to eat this. Sorry. So put in as much cheese as you want. Make it as delicious as you want it to be. And I have to say that's pretty delicious. Add just a little bit of salt in there. You can add black pepper if you like. I'm not going to. Then we'll throw all that corn in there. And we'll throw some of this fresh thyme in there. And we'll mix that around. So that's going to be a beautiful base for our dish. Okay, grits are done and waiting. Now we have our pork jus here. And with this guy, we got it reduced kind of nicely. We're going to add this in.
So the beer and the syrup, is that just by taste? Just how?
Yeah, it's about a cup of syrup, or a cup of beer to a third cup of syrup, and reduced. But I did it by taste. Yeah. So yeah, if I were to tell somebody to do it, I would say to do it that way. This, I wanted to taste it as I was going and just added it from there. So now we'll let this jus reduce while we focus on the pork chop and plating our dish. So we have our dressing here. And our greens. Just a little bit in there. It's not what I wanted. Just mix it around.
So do you enjoy cooking at home and making?
I do, but I like cooking.
Well?
I like cooking in a restaurant much more than at home.
Really?
At home, yeah, I mean, you don't have everything ready for you and ready to go in this way, where it's just perfectly set up for you. So I'd much rather go to a restaurant and have somebody cook for me when I'm off. So I put a little salt and pepper, a little shaved red onion in with these mustard grains, and that vinaigrette. Sauce is still going. Trying to learn how to turn these things off. They're all gone. Okay.
So we're done with the corn, right? You just
We're
did the
done.
char.
We're done with the corn. We charred some of it. It wasn't charring as fast as I wanted, so I took what the charred stuff was and I put that in there. That's why I pulled it off a little sooner than before. We did bring a blowtorch out. We should have just done it with that, but all good. So here's our pretty pork chop. Nice char on there. And we're going to cut it off of the bone in order to serve it. See if I can be smart about this, Eddie. Now that bone is the best part, so we're going to leave that on there for presentation. It's rib chops.
Wow, that looks amazing. Yeah, it's pretty much the same color throughout.
Yeah, doesn't have a lot of pink to it, but it's not overcooked. So that just must be from the brine. It gave it a little more cold. Yeah, sorry about that. I knew that. All right. Sauce reducing.
Yeah, that would be a shame to lose that bone.
Yeah, you can't, right? Okay, so we're going to take this beautiful bowl of grits. We're going to go right onto this board.
Is that the plate?
Yep, this will be the plate. I'm going to put like a little pool for our pork to sit in there.
Wow, it's so juicy.
All right. There we are. Now we'll just finish up our sauce.
Now,
So here's our sauce now. It's been, go ahead, Eddie.
the pork jus.
Uh-huh.
Where do you get that from?
So that we make at the restaurant. So we make a pork stock, just like any other stock. Now you can always use chicken stock for this. So we make with pork bones and vegetables and water and some herbs. We make our stock, and then cook that down and reduce it, and then we add roasted rib bones into that, and then reduce it further. So it just gets more and more rich.
Yeah.
Wow. That is delicious. Again, sorry.
If you do say
All
so.
right. And then we're going to finish it with a little bit of butter. Fold that right in there. Just, I mean, why not, right? Just more flavor.
Does that thicken it up a little bit too?
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this, I'm not looking for something too thick on this. I want it to be a little bit more like a loose sauce. So I also had some toasted pumpernickel croutons that went into that salad. And the idea there was the dark malts and everything I thought would play well with the whiskey and also with the beer.
So there's whiskey in
the brine.
And there's beer in the sauce.
Exactly.
All right.
A little bit of salt in there as well. And then just for some extra brightness, a little zest. Just a squeeze of lemon juice. So let's kind of wash the pork with it. Have it run on the plate a little bit. And then our little salad of greens.
Yeah, it's kind of running off the edges there too, huh?
Well, it'll run just a little off the sides there. We always take that risk with these boards.
It's so primitive. I love it.
This guy. Just throw a salad of greens right on top. A few extra of these breadcrumbs. You can stop now. And we're all done. This is it.
Wow. That looks amazing. So when are we adding this to the menu? Is a good question.
Right? You never know. You never know.
All right,
Could happen next weekend.
Nice. All right, let's give it up for Chef Greg Daniels. He's going to be doing, if you want any information about Haven Gastropub, go to havengastropub.com. He'll be doing a meet and greet right across the way, so if you have any questions or you want to talk with him, he'll be right over there. Thank you guys so much for coming. This is our final day for the Food and Wine Festival, but be sure to come back.